In a small corner of your home, there is a place that whispers the secrets of the heavens. Not gold or silver, not dazzling lights, but a quiet pinch of salt, a heartfelt prayer, and a heart full of faith. Dare you believe that, right where you stand, miracles are waiting to be awakened. Let us explore the sacred power of the home, where salt becomes a covenant, prayer opens the gates of heaven, and faith turns dreams into reality. Every home, whether a small apartment in the suburbs or an old wooden house in rural America, holds within it a wordless place. A small corner, perhaps a faded armchair by the window, where afternoon sunlight falls like a gentle greeting. Perhaps the front porch steps, where muddy boots tell stories of long workdays, or simply a quiet space by the dining table, where family meals have woven memories across generations. This place is not marked by golden plaques or spotlighted. It does not appear in social media photos or get polished for guests, but it breathes, it listens, it sees everything. That place, in its simplicity, is an invisible altar, not an altar of formal rituals, but of life's truest moments. It is where a father once sat, head in hands, silently praying for strength to navigate jobless days. It is where a mother, in the dark of a room, whispered thanks as her last child returned safe from a blizzard. It is where silent tears fell, quiet smiles bloomed, and unspoken prayers echoed. This place has seen you, not the you of work, neighbors, or the outside world, but the you of unguarded moments, when your heart is bare before the heavens. The home, with all its cracked walls and worn rugs, is more than shelter from the elements. It is a living book, chronicling every chapter of your life. Each scratch on the wooden floor is a story. Each creak of the door is a memory. And somewhere, in the unnoticed corners, there is a special place where your whispers, whether please, thanks, or sighs, are kept forever. This place needs no dazzling lights or costly decor. It only needs you to recognize it, to enter with gentleness, as you would tiptoe into a church in a moment of stillness. In America, where family values and faith intertwine with the hustle of life, the home remains the heart's center, whether a house in rural Tennessee, where church bells ring every Sunday, or an apartment in suburban Chicago, where families gather by the hearth. Every home carries a soul. That soul lies not in property value or interior design, but in the sacred moments within. A recent Pew Research Center survey found that over 70% of middle-aged and older Americans believe their home is the safest place to connect with faith. Surpassing churches or community centers, this is unsurprising, for within those familiar walls, you find solace when the outside world grows too harsh. The sacred place in the home does not demand a dedicated prayer room or ornate altar. It might be the kitchen corner, where you stood silent, clutching a coffee mug, seeking answers to wordless questions. It might be the rocking chair on the porch, where you watched the sunset and felt an inexplicable peace. It might be the space beside your bed, where you knelt, not for ritual, but because life's burdens were too heavy to bear alone. That place, though small and ordinary, is extraordinary in the eyes of something greater. It is the crossroads of humanity and divinity, of daily cares and eternal promises. Recognizing this sacred place does not require remodeling the home or buying costly items. It only takes a moment to pause, listen, and let your heart feel. In the busy pace of American life, where bills, work, and family duties can overwhelm, that moment is a gift. A 2020 study from the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that spending time connecting with a personally meaningful space in the home can reduce stress by up to 25%, fostering peace and control. For middle-aged and older adults who have weathered life seasons from raising children to caring for aging parents, this sacred space becomes a refuge, where they can shed external roles and simply be When you enter that place, there is no need for haste or noise. Step lightly, as you would into a cherished memory. Leave behind the phone and tomorrow's worries. Bring only yourself with all your scars, joys, and unfulfilled dreams. This place does not judge. It does not demand perfection. It waits, like an old friend, ready to listen and embrace you in its stillness. In American culture, where independence and self-reliance are prized, finding a place to lean not on others, but on your own home is an act of profound strength. And when you stand there, in that small corner of the home, you will feel something shift. Not the room's light, not the sounds outside, but a deep stillness within. It is the moment you realize the home is not just where you live, but where you are seen, heard, and loved not only by family, but by something greater. That place, in all its simplicity, is the start of a journey requiring no plane tickets or distant travels, but beginning right here, in your home, with a pinch of salt, a prayer, and a heart ready to believe in wonders. Salt rests quietly on the dining table, in a tiny glass jar by the hearth, but do not be fooled by its simplicity. It is not merely white grains that dissolve on the tongue. It is an ancient covenant, a silent messenger carrying the voice of the heavens. From hearty family meals to the sacred corner of the home, salt is a bridge between earth and sky, between daily cares and eternal promises. It is there in every Sunday dinner. As the mashed potatoes are passed around the table, each grain of salt blending with memories of laughter and prayers before the meal. It is in the steaming bowl of bean soup, stirred by a mother in the frigid Minnesota winters, where bone-chilling cold is softened by the warmth of the kitchen. Salt is the soul of the crisp cookies baked by a grandmother in a small Georgia kitchen, each batch a story of love and tradition. In American culture, salt is never just a seasoning. It is the thread weaving meals together, turning simple ingredients into cherished moments, from summer lakeside picnics to Thanksgiving feasts bursting with flavor. Yet salt, in its humility, holds a power far beyond the kitchen. In ancient times, when trade routes crossed deserts and oceans, salt was worth more than gold. It was currency, an oath, a preserver of life through harsh winters. Soldiers were paid in salt, sacred covenants were sealed with it, and harvests were saved by its grace. Spilling salt was an ill omen, not from superstition, but because to spill salt was to scatter a piece of life itself. Even in the Bible, salt is called the salt of the covenant, a sign of an unbreakable promise between humanity and the divine. In those tiny grains, salt carries the memory of millennia, from the vast seas kissed with divine saltiness to the humble homes where it is placed with reverence. When you hold salt in your hand, you do not hold a mere spice. You hold a sacred object, a key to invisible doors. Placing salt in the sacred corner of the home where sunlight dances on wooden floors or the breeze through curtains carries a strange serenity is a declaration, not to neighbors or the world, but to yourself and the heavens. You are proclaiming this home as holy ground. Its walls not just shelter from rain, but guardians of dreams. Its doors not just gateways to roads, but portals to hope. Salt, when placed with prayer, becomes a resounding whisper, I believe. I am ready. I belong to the light. This act requires no fanfare, no elaborate rituals or watchful eyes, just you, a pinch of salt, and a moment of sincerity. In busy days, when work piles up and worries about bills, children, or health overwhelm, salt reminds you to pause. It reminds you that small things like a grain of salt in the soup or a pinch placed in a corner can hold immense power. It does not promise instant solutions or dazzling miracles, but it promises a shift. Like a gentle breeze stirring a still lake, salt purifies the space, protects what is precious, and ensures your prayers are not forgotten. Think of salt in everyday moments, When you sprinkle a bit on grilled meat for a weekend barbecue or scatter it over boiled corn on a sweltering summer afternoon, in those moments, salt does not just enhance flavor, it warms your heart, evoking loved ones, shared meals, and stories around the table. Now, take that salt beyond the kitchen, place it in the sacred corner of your home, and let it tell a different story, a story of faith, protection, and a silent covenant that this home, with all its cracks and memories, is touched by the divine. Salt does not shout, it does not need to. It whispers, like waves lapping the shore on a moonless night. But in that stillness, it changes everything. It makes the air in the home lighter, as if invisible burdens have been lifted. It stands guard, quiet but steadfast, shielding your dreams from the cold winds of doubt and fear. And when you pass by that place where salt rests, you will feel a presence not of the salt itself, but of something greater, listening, waiting, and ready to respond. Placing salt is not an outdated ritual or mere superstition. It is a reminder that the smallest things in life, a pinch of salt, a moment of stillness, a prayer, can become gateways to abundance. For Americans, who have built lives on the values of work, family, and faith, salt is a familiar yet powerful symbol. It is something you hold daily, from the kitchen to the table, but now it invites you to look deeper, feel deeper, and trust deeper. When you place salt in the sacred corner of your home, you are not just placing a substance, you are placing faith, hope, and a promise that, no matter how the world changes, this home will forever be where miracles begin. Prayer is an eternal flame that never extinguishes, an invisible beam of light piercing through the walls of a home where salt has been placed as a silent covenant. It is not merely words, but the heartbeat of the soul, a thread connecting the human heart to the mysteries of the heavens. In that sacred corner, where salt stands guard and gentle sunlight touches the wooden floor, prayer becomes a doorway, opening to invisible realms where every dream, every pain, and every hope is heard. No white robes or grand pulpits are needed. Prayer arrives in the most ordinary moments. It is the whisper in the kitchen as the soup simmers, where a mother bows her head, seeking strength for tomorrow. It is the murmur on the porch under moonlight, where the rocking chair sways, carrying a plea for a child far from home. It is the stillness in a small room, where a single candle burns, and a broken heart seeks solace in the darkness. Prayer does not wait for Sunday, nor for Easter or Thanksgiving. It lives in every breath, in every moment you dare to lay your soul bare before eternity. In the tradition of Southern wooden homes, where church bells echo across fields, prayer is the rhythm of life. It is the hymn softly sung during family evenings, gathered around the hearth, voices blending as if inviting angels to lean closer. It is the worn Bible on the bedside table, opened during sleepless nights, its psalms a guiding light through the dark. Prayer is not just an act, but a state of the soul, where you step into the presence of something greater, as if the air grows thick, as if the walls hum with an unseen power. That power lies not in the eloquence of words. A prayer may be a sigh, a wordless groan, or the absolute silence when you stand before the sacred corner where salt rests. In that moment, you need not know all the answers. You need only dare to speak, whether with words or with your heart, that you believe, that you need, that you are ready. And when those words rise, trembling or bold, they do not dissolve into the air. They ascend, like smoke from a holy fire, through the ceiling, past the stars, to a place where every human whisper is heard. There are moments when you pray, and you feel a shift not in the room, but in your soul, as if an invisible door has just cracked open. Prayer is a mystical ritual, yet not foreign. It is how you reorder your inner world, arranging the fragments of fear, doubt, and hope into a sacred pattern. When you pray in the sacred corner of your home, where salt has been placed as a seal of faith, you do not merely speak to the heavens, you draw a boundary, declaring this home holy ground, its walls a shield for peace, its doors open to abundance. Prayer transforms the small things a pinch of salt, a quiet corner, a moment of stillness into milestones of miracles, where the impossible becomes possible. In homes where family traditions are cherished, prayer is the thread binding generations. It is the blessing of a grandmother, spoken before a Thanksgiving meal, as the family bows, feeling the presence of those gone but alive in memory. It is the prayer of a father, echoing in a quiet room, asking for his children's safety in an uncertain world. It is the moment one stands alone by a window, gazing at a snow-covered road, entrusting dreams to the stillness of the night. These prayers, great or small, carry a power beyond measure. They do not merely change the space around you, they change you, softening the sharp edges of pain, illuminating paths that seemed lost in darkness. Prayer does not promise that every door will open instantly or that every burden will vanish overnight, but it promises something deeper. You are never alone. When you pray, you enter an ancient covenant, where salt is the seal, the home is the altar, and your heart is the flame. In that moment, angels lean closer, walls listen, and the heavens respond not with thunder, but with a profound stillness where you find the strength to carry on, to hope, to believe that what you sow today will blossom tomorrow. Prayer is the light guiding you through the dark, a reminder that in this home, with salt and faith, you stand on holy ground where every miracle can begin. Faith is the invisible wind lifting the kite of the soul, the blazing fire in the dark night, never yielding. In the home where salt stands as a covenant, where prayers echo like hymns, faith is the fierce heartbeat, turning sacred corners into impregnable fortresses. It is not merely belief in the unseen, but the courage to stand firm when all collapses, to sow seeds in barren soil, to love when the heart bleeds. Faith, with its tempestuous strength, declares that this home, with all its cracks and memories, is holy ground, where miracles not only arrive, but linger. Faith needs no spotlight or external validation. It lives in quiet moments, when you stand before the sacred corner where salt quietly rests, feeling a deep certainty that your prayers do not fall into the void. It is the light guiding you when darkness surrounds. Like the story of Martha, a single mother in a small southern town, when the factory closed, leaving her with 3 children and mounting bills. She stood in her small kitchen, clutching a jar of salt, praying not for money, but for strength to carry on. Day after day, she applied for jobs, cleaned the house, and sang old hymns by the hearth. Martha's faith did not erase hardship instantly, but it kept her upright, and a new job came, like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. Her faith was not passive waiting, but a fire urging her forward. Though her feet grew weary, faith is a quiet voice that never falls silent. It whispers in long nights when fear knocks and doubt lurks. It is the strength of John, a retired carpenter in the suburbs, who lost his son in an accident. The pain was a blade, yet each evening, John sat on the porch, where salt rested in a small bowl, and prayed not to erase the pain, but to find meaning in it. Faith led John to craft wooden chairs for children in the community. Each chisel struck a declaration that pain would not define his life. Those chairs, placed in schools and churches, became the legacy of a man who believed light could bloom from darkness. John's faith was not a denial of loss, but a daring belief that the heavens still listened. in homes where salt and prayer have turned spaces into altars. Faith is the glue holding everything together. It does not deny hardships, stacked bills, unfinished dreams, or days when the heart feels heavy. Instead, it faces them like a warrior staring down an enemy, proclaiming, "You are not my end." Faith does not promise an easy path, but it promises an unbreakable strength. It is the wind lifting a bird through a storm, the fire warming a home in winter. When you stand in the sacred corner, touching the salt, uttering a prayer. Faith is the heartbeat urging you to believe that what you sow today, small as a grain of salt, will bloom into a radiant harvest. Faith does not require you to unravel every mystery of the heavens. It only asks you to dare to believe, to step forward, to hold on to light no matter how thick the darkness. In the traditions of homes where Bibles are opened by candlelight, where hymns rise in winter evenings, faith is the thread linking generations. It is the strength of grandmothers bowing before Thanksgiving meals, praying blessings not just for family, but for strangers. It is the resolve of fathers standing in quiet corners, praying for their children's safety in an uncertain world. It is the steadfastness of those who, though weary, sing old hymns, believing each note calls angels closer. The story of Sarah, a retired teacher, testifies to faith's fierce power. When cancer stole her health and joy, Sarah never left her sacred corner, a worn chair by the window, where salt rested in a ceramic bowl. Each morning, she prayed, not for healing, but for that day to hold meaning. Faith led Sarah to write handwritten letters to former students, sharing advice and love. Those letters, like tiny grains of salt, spread light, bringing hope to dozens. Though illness did not relent, Sarah lived her final days with a peace only faith can bring, as if she had touched a sacred realm where all pain turned to light. Faith, in its ferocity, is never passive waiting. It is action, choice, the fire you keep burning though cold winds blow. When you stand in your home, where salt and prayer have made the space holy, faith is the strength to dream big, to sow seeds, to believe that what you do today, small as a pinch of salt, fragile as a prayer, will blossom in the hands of the heavens. Faith is not just belief in miracles, it is the miracle, the unquenchable flame, the promise that in this home, with salt, prayer, and an unyielding heart, you are writing a story of abundance, hope, and the eternal. Money, like a river glimmering under the sun, is not the destination, but the path. In the home where salt whispers covenants, prayer weaves invisible threads, and faith burns like an unquenchable flame, money becomes a sacred tool, a gift given to uplift, heal, and spread light. Prosperity, guided by a sincere heart and open hands, is not a treasure to hoard, but a flow of grace, streaming from the sacred corner of the home, where every miracle has been sown. Money, in its simplicity, carries the breath of family meals, where mashed potatoes and roasted meat are shared by candlelight. Each earned coin a story of sweat and hope. It is the folded bills in a father's wallet, enough for new shoes for his child before school, or a mother's savings, scrimped over months to fix the roof before winter. But money, standing alone, has no soul, only when touched by faith, placed in hands that give, and guided by prayers from the sacred corner does it become light, like a lamp guiding through the night. The story of Clara, a retired postal worker in a small town, testifies to this power. When her husband passed, leaving her with debt and an aging home, Clara stood in her sacred corner, a small table by the window, where salt rested in a ceramic jar, and prayed, not for wealth, but for clarity. Faith spurred Clara to act. She began selling embroidered handkerchiefs, each stitch a prayer, each sale a moment of gratitude. Slowly, those handkerchiefs not only cleared her debt, but connected her to the community. where she taught children to embroider, turning pain into light. In Clara's hands, money was not a burden, but a river flowing through, nourishing dreams and binding hearts. Prosperity is not a mountain of gold piled high, but a gentle stream, like rain after a drought. It comes not to weigh you down, but to lift you up, to mend what is broken, to sow seeds for future harvests. In homes where salt stands guard and prayers echo, prosperity is a response from the heavens, not just for material needs, but for the longing to leave a legacy. It is the strength of grandmothers, praying before Thanksgiving meals, seeking blessings not only for family, but for the hungry beyond. It is the resolve of fathers, working extra hours so their children can attend college, believing each coin is a brick building the future. The story of Thomas, a widowed farmer on the plains, is a song of prosperity guided by faith. When crops failed, Thomas stood in his sacred corner, a space by the hearth, where salt rested in a wooden bowl, and prayed, not for a new harvest, but for courage to carry on. Faith led Thomas to share his scarce seeds with neighbors. Despite his own need, that act, small as a pinch of salt, sparked a miracle. Neighbors reciprocated, planting together, and the next season, Thomas's fields not only bloomed but fed the community. The money from that harvest was not just a reward, but proof that prosperity, sown with open hands, returns like waves to the shore. Money, when touched by faith, is never the master. It is a servant, bowing before a heart that loves and hands that give. In the traditions of homes where worn Bibles are opened by candlelight, prosperity is a call to live larger, to heal wounds, to build bridges. It is the strength of those who, though weary, place a coin in the church basket, believing each small gift is a whisper to the heavens. It is the steadfastness of those who, despite lack, invite strangers to their table. Trusting generosity is an unquenchable flame. The story of Evelyn, a former nurse living alone, is a final light in this journey. As her savings dwindled, Evelyn stood in her sacred corner, an old armchair by the hearth, where salt rested, and prayed, not for money, but for purpose. Faith led her to cook meals for the homeless in her community, using her last coins for ingredients. Those meals, simple as salt in soup, spread warmth, and the community responded, bringing food, money, and love. Evelyn's prosperity was not in her bank account, but in her heart, where the river of grace flowed, never running dry. Prosperity, in this home, is not a destination but a journey. It begins in the sacred corner, where salt stands guard, prayers echo, and faith burns bright. It flows through small acts, a pinch of salt, a prayer, an open hand, and becomes a river that never stops. Money, guided by a grateful heart and generous hands, becomes a hymn of the heavens, echoing through the walls, through generations, through dreams. In this home, with salt, prayer, faith, and prosperity, you do not merely live, you create, you heal, and you leave a legacy shimmering like a river under the sun. Spirituality is the breeze slipping through the crevices of the soul, carrying the breath of the heavens, awakening hidden corners of the heart. In the home where salt stands guard as an eternal promise, prayer echoes like a hymn, and faith burns like an unquenchable flame. Spirituality becomes the anchor keeping the human psyche from the storms of anxiety and doubt. The sacred corner, with its thick stillness, is not just a meeting place with the divine, but a space where the soul finds itself, where the fragments of life are pieced into a complete tapestry. The human psyche, like a lake reflecting moonlight, is easily stirred by winds of fear and unease. But when you step into the sacred corner, where salt quietly rests, the soul finds a wordless calm. In that moment, the world's noise fades, leaving a sacred void where you face yourself. Spirituality, through the act of placing salt and uttering prayer, becomes a mirror, revealing not just scars but the light deep within. This stillness does not erase pain, but embraces it, turning tears into pearls of resilience. Prayer, in its mystery, is medicine for a weary psyche? When you stand in the home, where walls have heard thousands of whispers, and let your heart spill through prayer, you do not merely speak to the heavens, you are reassembling the broken pieces within, weaving a tapestry of hope from threads of fear. Spirituality teaches that prayer need not be perfect or eloquent, only sincere. In that moment, the psyche is freed, like a bird escaping its cage, soaring above, cares to touch a realm of peace where burdens grow light. Faith, like a breeze across the soul's fields, gives the psyche strength to stand against storms. In the sacred corner, where salt is a seal and prayer a heartbeat, faith whispers that you are never alone, that each step, though trembling, is guided by an invisible hand. Spirituality, through faith, does not promise a life without challenges, but grants the psyche an inner fire, burning bright even in the darkest nights. This fire not only warms the heart, but lights the path, revealing meaning in days that seemed hopeless. Spirituality and the human psyche intertwine like light and shadow, complementing each other in the sacred home. When you place salt, pray, and trust, you build not only an altar to the heavens but a fortress for the soul. Each small act, a pinch of salt, a prayer, a moment of trust, is a brick strengthening inner resolve, helping you face waves of anxiety, failure, and loss. Spirituality, in its mystery, becomes the breath of the psyche, reminding you that you are not just a living body but a soul crafted to soar, to create, to love. The home, with its sacred corner, is where spirituality and psyche blend, creating a sanctuary for the heart. Salt, prayer, and faith are not mere rituals but doors leading inward, where you find inexplicable peace, immeasurable strength, and unending hope. In that sanctuary, the psyche is healed, not by erasing hardships, but by giving you wings to soar above them. Spirituality, like an invisible breeze, whispers that this home, with salt, prayer, and faith, is not just where you live, but where you become light, where your soul sings the song of eternity. Belief is the torch illuminating the path, transforming the home into a sacred temple, where salt quietly stands guard, prayer weaves light, and the soul merges with the heavens. Living with belief is to walk without fear, to treat the home as a sanctuary, to manage money as a covenant, and to open your hands to give, knowing the flow of grace will return like waves to the shore. In that home, every action, every breath, is a hymn of spirituality, echoing through the walls, touching eternity. Fearless belief is the wind sweeping through the soul, dispelling the darkness of anxiety. When you stand in the sacred corner, where salt whispers promises and prayer rises like smoke from a flame, belief becomes armor, shielding the heart from the arrows of doubt. It does not deny life's storms but teaches you to stand firm amidst the gusts, trusting that each step, though trembling, is guided by an unseen force. Living with belief is daring to open the home's door. Despite the world's uncertainties, knowing the light from the sacred corner will guide you, turning fear into a fire of hope. The home, when treated as a temple, becomes a sanctuary of the soul. Every door, every wall, every small corner where salt rests carries the breath of the heavens. Honoring the home requires no gold or grand rituals, only the gentleness as you cross the threshold, the sincerity as you pray, and the gratitude as you touch simple objects. This temple does not judge or demand perfection. It waits for you to recognize that every moment in the home, from the simmering soup on the stove to the flickering candle on the table, is a sacred ritual, weaving a thread connecting you to eternity. Managing money with responsibility is an act of honoring belief's covenant. Money, like a river flowing through the home, is not a master, but a servant bowing before a grateful heart. In the sacred corner, where prayer and faith intertwine, you learn to hold money with respect, not letting it define your worth, but using it to serve dreams, heal wounds, and spread light. Money, when managed with a frugal hand and a sharing heart, becomes a hymn, rising from the home's temple, touching other souls in quiet reverence. Giving freely is opening the heart, letting the stream of grace pour forth in the home where salt, prayer, and faith have made the space holy. Generosity is not sacrifice, but a declaration of trust in the heavens' abundance. Every coin placed in another's hand, every meal shared at the table, is a pinch of salt sown into life's river, knowing what you give will return not as gold, but as the light of peace and joy. Generosity is an unquenchable flame, warming the home's temple, spreading warmth to the world's dark corners. The home, with fearless belief, reverence as a temple, responsible money management, and open hands, is where spirituality and the human psyche intertwine. Every act, from placing salt, uttering prayer, to sharing what you have, is a thread weaving a tapestry of abundance. In that sanctuary, you do not merely live, you create, you heal, you become light. This home, with salt, prayer, faith, and generosity, is where your soul sings, where you walk fearlessly, knowing each heartbeat is a promise to the heavens, echoing through eternity.